everybody. This is the first episode of OTTFC. I'm joined with two co-hosts. My co-host, Felipe Pachon. Say what's up to the people.
What's good, everybody?
And then today we have our guest star, Malik Moss Solomon. Say hello, Malik.
How's it going, guys?
All right. So now that we're all here, our first topic to dive into, controversial take. Pep Guardiola, is he an overrated coach? Yes or no? So let's just start off by giving a yes/no answer on whether or not we think he's an overrated coach, and then we'll dive into our definitions and reasons why. So to me, I think the way he's portrayed by the media and like social media nowadays, he is an overrated coach. What about you, Felipe?
Not overrated.
Not overrated. Malik?
Yeah, I agree that he's a little overrated just based off of how media and players and other coaches portray him. I think he's a little overrated.
All right. So now let's talk about what we mean when we say he's overrated, right? Because I don't want to give the wrong impression off and people to hear us say, oh, he's overrated. They think he's a bad coach. At least on my end, I want to make sure that he's a great coach. Definitely, like, you know, one of the best coaches of all time. But it just seems that the wordings and like the way he's touted about on talk shows and like social media, it's like this guy is like the best coach ever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little over the top, the amount of credit he gets for what he's done. 'Cause what he's done is great, but there's circumstances that we'll dive into later that, you know, restrict me from giving him that much praise. What about you, Malik? What makes you say that he's overrated?
Well, first, I'll get your guys' opinion on this. Do either of you think that he's the best coach of all time, like in the history of like soccer in general, or just as long as you've been watching? Do you guys tout him as being like number one?
He's the number one for this century.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, and Brian?
It's tough. I'm going to say – I want to say no for this century, but you have to give me a minute to think about solidify my reasons why.
Okay. All right. So what was your question again? I'm sorry, Brian, you had asked something else.
Oh, so yeah, very simple. Like, we're saying overrated. Like, it's you and me are saying he's overrated. What does that mean to you? Like, what is overrated about him? Before you dive into details of why, just like, why does the word overrated apply to him, to you?
Right. So piggybacking off what you had said, that he's still a great coach. Like, nobody can deny that, like, the things he's done. He has a tenure as a manager, and he's won so many different things with many different clubs. It's more so the fact that he seems to be a manager that has a team, whether he buys it or it's already like he inherits the club, that the players are just all world class. So it seems that he just has a team that's always just going to be great. So it begs the question, like, how great of a manager are you if like any old manager could just, you know, coach a team that has Messi and Henry and Eto'o and Xavi and Iniesta, Busquets? They'd win the league too. I see.
Yeah,
Well, Frank Rijkaard didn't do that. Frank Rijkaard really didn't do that when he had those exact players.
Here comes Felipe.
So let me stop Malik right there before he gets into a little more detail and give Felipe a chance really quickly without getting into too much detail. Why do you say he's not overrated?
Because, like I've said a million times, is that you don't need to be like the number one coach of the year every single year. All you need to do to be one of the greatest coaches of all time is do a crazy act as a coach. So for me, that would be for the 4 years he did at Barca was enough to make him one of the greatest of all time.
So that's a great thing that you just brought up. So that's something that's going to help, you know, solidify our arguments further, is what defines a legendary or like a great coach. So that you're saying right there that that 4-year spurt at Barcelona is enough for you to call him one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest of this century.
Yep.
All right, Malik, what would you need to define someone as one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest of this century?
For me, I think you have to take a look at like the team that they have. Like, for instance, Ranieri taking that Leicester side and winning the Premier League. To me, that's something that's up there with being legendary as a manager. I have my doubts that Pep Guardiola would be able to manage that team without having to spend $1 billion and have them win the Premier League. That's kind of where I come from with that whole Pep Guardiola being overrated. I still think he's good, but I don't know. I don't think that he'd be able to manage that team in that way.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because like when you look at his history of like the teams that he's coached, like which team did he coach that wasn't like in a great position or where he had the resources to put them in a great position to succeed, right? He's not taking players that are mid-table and like bringing them to the top of the league. You know, he inherited a Barcelona side that was, you know, competing for the league. Granted, not Barcelona standards of winning the league, but it was a team that was like in third place, second place, not a team that dropped in form. And like I said, all these class players they had in Henry and Eto'o and an uprising star, Messi, Puyol in the back line. And then where did he go? He went to Bayern, a team that, you know, regularly wins the Bundesliga. Sure, their strongest competition at the time is Dortmund. And what did they do? They got Lewandowski, Götze, Hummels, the best players from the team that's giving you the most, like, competition. So what does that say? Then he went to Manchester City, and he's spent $1.3 billion since getting there. $500 million solely on defenders. I think he replaces one of his backs every season. So yeah, like you're saying, like, is he developing players or is he just buying a good one until one of them works and then boom, this works? Done. I did my job.
I don't know. I think you were a little all over the place with that one.
All right, go ahead.
Felipe is just.
I mean, tell me a coach that you think is one of the greatest of all time right now.
I think we can call Mourinho one of the greatest coaches of all time.
All right, so Mourinho is one of the greatest coaches of all time. All right, I say, so name me a club where he didn't have a great side with him.
Porto compared to any of Pep Guardiola's side.
I mean, we're just talking about Mourinho. We're not comparing Jose to Guardiola. We're just talking about Pep and his team in general.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you why Mourinho is a legendary coach to me versus why Pep is overrated in that same aspect. Like,
no, but
take any Pep side that he's had compared to that Porto team that Mourinho won the Champions League with, levels, right?
I mean, that Porto team is pretty dominant. Like,
they were good. Yeah, but you cannot compare that team to the Barcelona side, to that Bayern side, and to this $1.3 billion Man City side.
I mean, this Porto team won Europa League the year before and then came in and won Champions League after.
Did he?
This team was clearly doing well in Europe.
Did he spend anywhere near the equivalent to what 1.3 billion is now back then?
But all right, but now you're comparing. We're talking about just one team, though. Then Guardiola didn't do that at Barca, and he didn't do it at Bayern, and now you're just bringing that same argument over and over again.
So then at Bayern,
you keep using that City one.
I hit City, not for Bayern.
You're just upset with what he's doing at City, then, because you're playing that his whole career.
Let's go to Bayern. I'm playing the Bayern too, because then with Bayern, they bought the best players from Dortmund, other than Royce. So they took out their one. It was like a two-legged competition, and he took out one of the legs. So, like, how much credit can you give to a team that regularly wins the Bundesliga, and then they bought the best players from the other team that was giving them heck? I can't give much credit for Bayern then either, right? Can I? And then
no, I mean, dude, you tell me one team that doesn't take away from the competition, though. Which big teams from Europe don't buy from the other competition
we're talking about
the leagues?
We're talking about specifically the Bundesliga, which at the time was really a two-team show.
All right, so then we could only apply it to coaches that have coached Bayern Munich then, because then there's no one else we could compare that with. If we're talking about specifically Bundesliga.
Well, okay, let's talk about like the Premier League. Like, how often does the Premier League team buy the best players from like the other Premier League teams?
Like all the time.
You see
Look
Man
at United. United picks off freaking Lukaku from Everton, which Lukaku was the top striker.
Okay, but Everton wasn't the team. Everton wasn't the team giving Man U flack to win the league that year.
And let's not talk about Liverpool just buying their whole team from Southampton.
Yeah, and Liverpool too.
It's a great thing that I didn't bring up Liverpool as an argument.
It's the same. It's the same application.
They go there and do their grocery shopping.
I was talking about Mourinho, not Klopp.
Now you're talking about Mourinho, though, but you're a little all over the place. Is the thing. Like you're jumping with conversation.
All started from me saying, you asked me who I think is a legendary coach, and I said Mourinho because look what he did with that Porto side. He didn't inherit a side as good as that Barcelona side that Pep came into. He didn't. And he didn't buy the best players from the other teams like he did in Bayern.
I mean, he had spent 1.3 billion. How do you know that for a fact, though? Like we're not talking about billions, though. Why do you keep jumping into that conversation?
The three teams that Pep were like concerned with. Barcelona walked into a really great side. He didn't walk into a really great side.
He didn't walk into a great side is the whole point, though, dude.
He didn't walk into a great side in that Barcelona team.
This season, bro.
You tell me that wasn't the Barcelona side.
They got third place. Like, they didn't win the Champions League. They didn't win Copa. They didn't win nothing, bro.
That team didn't have like arguably like 7 out of the best players in the world.
Name me the 7 right now,
bro. Okay,
name me the 7.
Henry wasn't one of the best strikers in the world.
Not in 2007. Not in 2008.
He wasn't one of the best strikers in the world.
He wasn't top 5 strikers in 2008. I promise you that.
Name 4 strikers better than him back then.
In 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Rooney, Fernando Torres, Let's see who else. Ruud van Nistelrooy was doing better than him at that point. And 2008, Forlan. Diego Forlan was already better than him at that point. He won the Pichichi that year, Forlan.
You're telling me that Fernando Torres is better than Thierry Henry back in 07, 08?
In 08 and 09, yeah.
Back in his Liverpool days, you can't disagree with that.
I don't know, man. I think having Thierry Henry, Samuel Eto'o, uprising Messi, Puyol in your back line. Who I got? Eric Abidal. You have Dani Alves.
Abidal was not a household name at that time, and Dani Alves was a new name from Sevilla. So you're naming these names like after what they did with Guardiola, though.
A great side, though. He didn't have not good players or not.
And neither did Mourinho. Mourinho did not have bad players. That was literally the starting lineup for Portugal's Euro 2004 win. Like literally.
Okay, so let's be fair then.
So it's not even like you're acting like this guy had like bummy players.
Unbiased. You telling me Pep's Barcelona side goes up against Mourinho's Porto side. What side wins that game?
That doesn't matter, but that doesn't matter.
Answer my question.
That doesn't mean that Porto's team was any worse. It's unrelated. That question is unrelated, though.
What do you mean? That definitely tells you which team is worse.
But no one's talking about which team is worse. Either way, those teams were great in that respective season, though.
The levels
that Porto team, you're comparing that Porto team to all other teams in that season. Not teams from all other places.
Because my argument is Mourinho versus Pep. What do you think about this, Malik? You've been silent in this talk.
Felipe just seems very confused.
No, because this guy's not making any. These arguments are just dumb.
I mean, I can't say that there's a direct correlation between having just Porto from whatever year that was that they won Champions League versus the reign of terror that Barcelona had under Pep Guardiola. I mean, Felipe raises some good points that, once Pep Guardiola got there, you got Dani Alves, you get Eric Abidal, and he made those players the names that they are now, like Barcelona legends. But it can't be denied that at least there was some talent there. It's not like they were just, as Felipe said, bummy players. So I don't really think that necessarily Pep Guardiola turned these players into world-class players because I think they were going to be world-class one way or another. I think they had the talent. I think that Messi, no matter who the coach is, we can all agree that he's one of the world's best, if not the best. So the managers have a lot to do with that.
Just like he said, the thing about it's not, maybe he didn't turn these players. They're going to be world-class either way. All right, let me name you the starting lineup for Porto against Monaco in the 2004 Champions League. You guys know who Deco is?
Yeah.
All right, that turned out to be a world-class player. I guess Mourinho gets no credit for that one either. Maniche, another start of the 2004 Portugal Euro Championships. Ricardo Carvalho, who played in Chelsea and Real Madrid. We have Paulo Ferreira that then ended up going to Chelsea. Who else? Nuno Valente, who was another player for the 2004 Portugal team. So you're making it seem like Porto 2004 was just some it was a surprise, but these players were quality. They won the 2004 Euro that same year, and those players got to 2006 World Cup semifinal and lost them against France in penalties.
Then let me clarify. Fair. I'm not saying they're a bad team. If I said that, then I apologize. Or let me clarify. Definitely a good side. I'm just comparing it to the levels because you said that you didn't like the City argument with the spending money, so I tried to drop that. You didn't like the Bayern argument where you bought the Dortmund players, so I tried to drop that. So I'm comparing it to the Barcelona side, the only other side that Pep has coached that I can draw a correlation with. And I think that the degree to which Pep is touted as such this great coach is overrated in the sense that many other good managers could probably have taken that side to similar levels.
I mean, Frank Rijkaard couldn't do that. He had that team except for Dani Alves and a few other names. Piqué was also one of the new ones. Piqué was a bench player at Man United. Now he's a world-class striker. Dani Alves was a player at Sevilla.
All right, you're just sticking to the Barcelona side then. That's the spurt.
That's the most correlation. That's their first squad. Both.
Okay, no, fair. Just for clarification. And then, all right, Malik, how do you feel about the take that maybe another good coach could take the sides that Pep had with the resources that Pep had and coach them to similar levels of success? Do you think that's possible? If someone like a Mourinho or
Are we just talking about his Barcelona team or just all of his teams in general?
Well, let's talk about all of them in general. If you want to go one by one, sure. But let's just like in general, you could take these teams with those players and like the resources that they have where they can buy the same buys, like picture the same moves other than like style of play, the same moves and money resources in the same clubs. Could other big name coaches have done what Pep Guardiola did?
Right. So I guess we'll start with Barcelona then. I understand where Felipe is coming from because granted his first season coming in, he did have, new players. And as Felipe put it, like PK, for instance, that he came from a Manchester United team that didn't really start him or didn't play him. And now, yeah, to this day, he's still one of like the top defenders at Barcelona. Definitely a Barcelona legend, in my opinion. So it can be argued that I think this is where Felipe is coming from, that just based off of what he's done at Barcelona, the time he was there, is enough to cement him for like what everybody, like what you and I disagree, that he's like overrated. And I think that's where Felipe is coming from. I think where Brian and I get more, skeptical about it is the latter stuff where he at Bayern, like, I mean, it might be disrespectful to say, but I mean, most people that can go to like Bayern can like just coach them to win the Bundesliga, at least nowadays, like maybe before, but I mean, in current seasons, like if you're just a somewhat decent coach that knows how to play like the game somewhat, you'd probably be fine, like just coaching Bayern to win the Bundesliga. Then I think our big qualm is at Man City, where it just seems like he's just straight up lazy now. He's not even trying to develop players that much anymore. It's just whether he gives you like a season, and if he doesn't like how you play, he has the money at his disposal, and he's just buying a whole new team pretty much. I mean, as Brian said, like $1.3 billion, and almost 70% of that just going to defenders is a little bit ridiculous. And I think even Felipe can agree with that. I mean, it's a strategy that some coaches are using now, not saying that it's like good or bad. Like, I guess that's just the way soccer is going, with just, if you have the money, you just buy a whole new team, stack your team. I just think that like from where Felipe like puts him up on the pedestal of Barcelona days, it seems he's certainly fallen off. And it comes off to me a bit lazy that, well, I just have the money. So instead of developing these players that I have now at Man City, I can just buy new ones that are already developed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's one of the greatest of all time because of what he's doing at City. It's just what he did at Barca. That like you're saying, any team could just pick up a squad like that and do what he did. All right, but no team has done what Pep Guardiola has done at Barcelona yet, and they all have a nice squad. Real Madrid had a nice squad. Bayern Munich has had a nice squad. Like they all have nice squads, and they still haven't done what he did at Barca. Not even just the style of play.
Let me ask you a question then. Why do you think that he isn't having the same success? I mean, after all of the money he spent, why do you think he's not having the same type of success at Man City? I mean,
because of what he did is special. Like you can't do that like like that. Like a coach does that. That's the defining moment of their career. Like they work for that. And it just so happened to be Pep Guardiola's first season where he reached his the potential where every coach wants to do.
So to you in Barcelona, he like set his own standard for being like that good of a coach, and everything past that to you is just it's been subpar then technically.
No, I mean 2009, 2010 we were doing great and we lost and we won the league that year and we got eliminated in one goal.
He's saying after like he left Barcelona.
After Barcelona, the 4 years.
After Barcelona, so him going to Bayern and City, like those have been subpar performances in comparison.
Based off of what happened at Barcelona, wouldn't you agree?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, because he hasn't won the treble again, but he's still keeping the standard though. He could have dropped the standard at Bayern. He could have just been a team that didn't win the Bundesliga, but he kept them with that gold standard of winning the Bundesliga even more consistently than they were before, where they were losing half the leagues in the.
But you said his defining moment and what made him a legendary coach to you was like that six treble, like the triple, like he didn't do that at Bayern. So that's like definitely a drop from like that legendary status. So
for him, but he kept the Bayern standard though.
So what made him?
He didn't drop the Bayern standard.
What made him worthy of this praise is what he did at Barcelona, and since then he hasn't done that again. So maybe he doesn't deserve the praise for what he's currently doing, but you're saying the praise should carry over from what he did in the past.
I mean, the praise stays forever. Like you don't like
based on what
Maradona is praised so much for what he did at one World Cup.
So I'm saying, I'm just clarifying what you're saying.
Defining moment career.
Yeah, no one's disagreeing with you. Just like to clarify what you're saying, because we have to like move on to the next topic. Let's give one last like hit on this. I think the last thing we have to like define for each other is what defines a legendary coach. Because we're talking about back and forth. I'm giving up opinions about Porto, Mourinho, You're giving opinions about Barcelona versus Bayern and City. Malik brought up the whole City, like track record, how much money he spent. So let's just try to lay it out as plain and simple as you can. What defines a legendary coach for you?
A coach that has done that makes history and wins like relatively consistently, and that's what exactly Pep Guardiola does. No one has ever done a sextuple before. He won the first treble for a Spanish team, and he created a style of play that was influenced for a whole decade, where Spain won 3 major trophies, 2 Euro Cups and a World Cup.
And they're undefeated that streak
style
too.
of play, with that Pep Guardiola style of play. So
they were
just that is
undefeated.
enough. So
Okay, fair.
that makes him one of the
Malik,
greatest.
what is your definition?
I can agree with Felipe, and I think that what we can take away from this discussion, despite the fact that like I think Felipe disagrees with us, is that we all agree that Pep Guardiola is like a good coach. And I think where Brian and I agree more than what Felipe is like coming across with is that it's almost like kind of disappointing. Like, yeah, the way that everybody like still touts him as being one of the greatest, right? And granted, yes, he's done all of the things that, you know, we've gone over, the sextuple, all the different things. But looking at how he's at Man City now, it's a bit disappointing. They still haven't gotten to a Champions League final, let alone like won one. With all the money he's spent, it's just, I guess, like with all the talk that everybody talks about Pep Guardiola this, Pep Guardiola that, it's more talk from the things he used to do and less about the current stuff he's doing. So I think where Brian and I are saying that he's overrated is more like on his current stuff. Like, yeah, he's keeping Man City in the top 4, which is not hard when you spend $1.3 billion, mind you. He's like keeping them consistent in all of like the different competitions. He's not like dropping them to Europa League, and I understand that. But with the money he spent, with the people he has at his disposal, with the squad depth he has, you expect a little bit more from that caliber of manager to do what he should be doing at Man City. That's in my opinion.
Yes,
So
and I
you
can
say
agree
he's
with.
just overrated right now in this moment, but in history, you wouldn't say he's not one of the greatest coaches of all time.
No, I'd say if in history, yeah. But I'm saying now it's a bit disappointing.
At this present moment, yeah, right now he's not the best coach in the world.
Okay, sounds good to me. I think we have common ground.
I think we could agree with that. It's just like you'll see, he won the Champions League with Barcelona, correct? And then I don't think he's been to a Champions League final since he left Barcelona, has he?
No,
That's
he's got to a few semifinals, but no finals.
Hasn't even made it to the final with a Bayern side that we can all agree was pretty great, and now with the City side that, like Malik said, has depth and money resources like beyond imagination. So the fact that he can even get to a final, and City's like usually regarded as one of like the favorites to win Champions League for every year.
But let's not forget when Guardiola was at Bayern, he got eliminated. He was there for 3 seasons, and he got eliminated by 2 great sides: the treble-winning Barcelona side that won everything with MSN, and then the Real Madrid team that ended up winning 3 back-to-back Champions League. So it's not like he wasn't facing any competition that was like, oh, he should win no matter what. Like, there's also other good teams available. And so I don't know.
Okay.
At Bayern, he did what he had to do, and he just got beat by a better team. There was a better team at that moment. So you got to also bring in context to that.
I think we have aired out our takes. To move on to the next segment, so we don't get too caught up only talking about Pep for hours and hours on end. I know we can. There's a couple good soccer matches coming up to look forward to, you know, before we welcome in the new year 2021. So I believe we have a couple La Liga games, good Serie A game, and Premier League games. Felipe, what are some of those matches that you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Sevilla versus Villarreal, which is a good match just because those are 2 teams that compete in Europe. Villarreal right now under Unai Emery, after not having such a good time at Arsenal, is having a great time at Villarreal with a very long unbeaten stretch of games. That I believe it's like 18 games that they're in. That's Tuesday.
That's a great game to look forward to. What's your score prediction for that one?
I got 1-1.
1-1. I think I have 2-1 Villarreal edging out Sevilla. What do you think, Malik?
Yeah, I can see a 1-1. Villarreal is away from home, yeah?
It's at Sevilla.
Yeah, I can see a 1-1 there.
All right. Then the Premier League. I know I'm looking forward to that Everton-Man City clash. You know, once again, our boy Pep stepping up to the plate. City isn't having the best season, and Everton under Ancelotti is doing, I mean, I think they're surpassing everybody's expectations of what Everton, you know, normally does. It'll be exciting to see that Everton side go against Pep City and see if he can maybe bounce back into that legendary form of his.
We'll see. I mean, do you know what position is Man City in right now?
I
Let
think
me
they're
look it
in
up here
sixth
right
after
now.
today.
Manchester
They are-
City is
They're in
currently
sixth place.
in
They're in
sixth place,
sixth,
and
yeah?
Everton's in second place.
They're sixth place, but they
With a
are a
game
game.
in hand.
They have a game less than both
Yeah.
than Tottenham, Leicester, Everton, and Liverpool.
Yeah, they have
If
a
Man
chance to
City
tie
were to catch
Everton.
up, they could jump to second place. Man City. So let's not think that Man City is actually too far, because they're not.
No, they pray. If they beat Everton, they'll like jump to second place right on top of Everton. So, what's your prediction for
With
that
a
one?
game less.
I think I have Everton winning that game.
It's at Everton.
That game is
Yeah,
at
it's not Goodison Park. Yeah, it is.
Is James back in shape or no?
I don't think James is back yet.
Huh?
I think James is
Oh.
doubtful. It's
But
not
is Jerry
100% out, but
Mina
it's
playing?
doubtful. Is Jerry Mina? I don't know. He got me there.
Does that even matter?
Yeah, I mean that's a starter. He scored in one of the last few games.
You got to remember that they have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's having a fantastic season.
Who's having a
He's
great
tearing up the
time.
Premier League.
No, I
Can't
got
remember last time he
Everton
scored.
winning 2-1.
I have Everton winning 2-1 also. What do you think, Malik? Score prediction for that one.
Man City gonna win.
At
What's the score
Goodison
prediction for that
Park.
one?
That's tomorrow
Why
at
not?
3.
Why not?
What do you think the score is going to be?
We'll give it 3-1 to City.
3-1 to
Jesus.
City. Nice.
A lot of faith for someone who we were just talking a lot of smack of.
And then
I mean,
lastly,
$1.3 billion, Felipe. Jeff Bezos' pocket changed that.
Oh yeah, that's a day's income. That's a
Mhm.
day's
So,
hard work.
That's what
lastly,
he empties out of his pockets, literally, at the end of the day.
we have a 7th versus 8th place showdown, I believe, and Aston Villa playing Chelsea. How do you guys feel about that one?
Well,
We're at.
Aston Villa is going to be playing, let's see, where are they at? This is at Stamford Bridge.
I'll air my
Chelsea.
grievances about Chelsea in the next segment, but I mean, just based off their last game, like I don't know what that's about. Like anybody at this point that's losing to Arsenal, I don't know what they're doing with their life.
I think it's
I
a
mean,
good
yeah, look at
segment to lead us into what you think is bang average this weekend.
Oh
So,
yeah, it definitely is.
Before we wrap
gonna
that
lead
up, let's give a prediction here. So I think Aston Villa, they're in a good form. 3 wins, a draw, and a loss, their last 5. Chelsea has 3 losses, a win, and a draw in their last 5. Jack Grealish is in amazing form, so I think he's going to take Aston Villa to the dub versus Chelsea. I know, nice 2-0 Aston Villa win, maybe a 3-1. What do you think, Felipe?
2-0?
Mhm.
Like Chelsea's not scoring at home.
It all depends on what Lampard decides to do with the team, because I don't know what that team that he played against Arsenal. It was something. It was something.
So what do you think is going to be
Yeah.
your prediction there? Can you give us a win or a loss either way?
If he puts out like the team that I personally would put out, I think that they can beat Aston Villa. But I think he's going to continue doing the foolishness he's been doing, and I could see a draw at
All right,
Stamford
seeing a
Bridge.
draw. And then Felipe,
Yeah.
what do you think is going to be?
No, Aston Villa looks decent. They haven't received a goal in the last 4 games, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say a solid 2-1 Chelsea. They're going to get 2
2-1
goals in.
Chelsea.
They're going to bounce back after that Arsenal L.
And then
Okay.
lastly, let's bounce into our next segment. I know Malik is very excited. Malik, why don't you tell us who you think is bang average in soccer right now?
All right. Before, I would have to say the bang average people were people like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I'm just not very convinced is all that great. I think he's just going to have the one season. The next season, we're not going to be talking about him. But let's move past him now, because I was so shocked when I sat down for the full 90 minutes to watch. I was, at the beginning of the season, I was like, Chelsea has a good team. They got some good buys. I was rooting for them to be up there. But after what I saw a couple days ago, whenever it was, like 2 days ago, against Arsenal, the team that Lampard put out, it was bang average. The people that they have on their team are good individual players, but they have no cohesion as a team. He's playing Werner, who he bought to replace as a striker, and he plays him on the left. He pushes like Pulisic on the right, has Tammy Abraham, who's another bang average player, mind you, as their striker. Giroud is in top form, has him on the bench. I don't know if he was just taking Arsenal like easy or something, just like benching people. And then he has Havertz on the bench. I don't know what was going on with him, but that game, I don't know. I was thoroughly depressed after seeing him.
Sounds bang average all around for Chelsea, huh? The manager, the staff, the lineup you put out, individual players. You went in on this Chelsea side, Malik.
Yeah, not a good
Not a
week.
fan. Not a fan of how he's lining them up. I think he could do a little bit better.
I think I can agree with that, which is why I have Aston Villa beating them. But that kind of wraps up our time for today. So if you guys like this video, please, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you want to see us talk about next time. Let us know your take. Is Pep Guardiola overrated? Is Pep Guardiola overrated? Yes or no? Tell us why. Anything else you want to message us, comment below. And that's it for me. You guys got anything you want to say to the people?
Thank you for your watching, and we look forward to catching you guys on the next video.
Yep.
All right. Signing off. OTTFC. See you guys next time. Peace.
Salute.
Yeah.